In this video, I'm going to show you how to close more leads by understanding what is an online lead. So it's actually best to think of online leads as an outcome of a process versus a type of person. Because when you think of it as a type of person, you start to have biases involved that are not helpful to actually closing those deals. So it really is a numbers game, and looking at an online lead is basically looking at another human, right? An online lead that someone else calls a tire kicker could be an amazing referral for someone else. It's the same person, it's just a different process and different levels of trust. So the way that we get them is we offer them something through an ad. And in that ad, typically it's a free consultation, a free lead magnet of some sort like product info, a free assessment, something that gets them interested enough to actually give us their information. And at that point, they are not a strong candidate yet. They're basically just a person that gave you information. And if we look at this Harvard study, I'll share my screen. It basically shows you that leads get cold in minutes. And I'm talking minutes. So if you get to a lead in just 10 minutes versus 5 minutes, your chance of qualifying that person drops 4 times, which is significant, right? And then once you get past 30 minutes, it's like 21 times less likely. So they have no attachment to you. They don't want to talk to you yet. They have no interest in talking to you. They basically just want what you advertise right now. So one of the biggest misconceptions is if I get the ad just right, or if I change the wording to this, then all of a sudden I won't get like quote unquote tire kickers, right? So that's just not true. People don't trust you yet, they don't know you, and they basically don't really want to talk to you. So that's why we get in contact with them ASAP, increase the likelihood that they actually will talk to us. And then if we can't get to them right now, let's say it's like 4 a.m. their time, we'll send them messages. So if it's outside business hours, we'll message them to let them know that we're going to be in contact as soon as possible. And we're doing everything we can to book a meeting with you. So we're trying to build enough trust that they're willing to trade some of their time in return for the free thing that we offered, whether it's a list of homes, whether it's advice on a mortgage. They have opted to trade their time for the thing. So now we have to deliver. So this is the process to get them committed to a meeting, but there's so much more involved. And here's where most people hurt themselves with their own biases. They start labeling leads, and instead of thinking of this as a process, as a human that is just part of a larger process, they start thinking of these people as like tire kickers or, bad people. And instead, they just don't understand that part of the process is failing, or they have failed in part of the process, right? So the whole portion of turning a lead into a closed deal requires both marketing and sales. You can't close the deal without sales, right? So thinking of someone as like, well, I can't believe they're not ready to trust me with the biggest investment of their life, like a home or a mortgage, after clicking my ad, like that is not a reasonable assumption of someone, because you're just going to be disappointed. It doesn't matter who you go with, who runs your ads, what kind of ads you run. That will almost never happen, right? I'm not saying it cannot happen, but the odds of that happening are just minimal. So if that's what you're looking for, you just have a really deep misunderstanding of how online leads work in general. It doesn't work like that. So the other thing that people misunderstand is the follow-up, right? So if we go back to that same Harvard study, it showed that you have to follow up with people 6 times or more, 90% of the time for high ticket sales. That is what's required. So a lot of people have this misunderstanding where they just assume, hey, if they're interested, they would call me back. And that misunderstanding is reasonable. Maybe you've worked with referrals, maybe you're used to talking to your friends, people that trust you, and that assumption might be true. But when you're working with online leads, all the data points to more follow-up and adding value in the follow-up, and that is a required step to actually get them to commit enough time to actually chat with you, right? So get the idea of, tire kickers and, oh, if they're interested, they'll call me back. Get that out of your system, because that's only going to hurt you when you actually have to do the things that are required to close deals. You essentially are building a very powerful skill of turning a stranger into someone that trusts you with one of the biggest investments of their life. So you cannot have these biases if you want to be successful. So if someone actually shows up to the meeting, you already know that they have a need that you can solve. And if they ghost you after meeting you, it's because you failed in the system somewhere. You failed in the sales process, or you failed in the follow-up process. You didn't add enough value, and that's part of the learning. Don't feel bad. Just learn and get better. That's all you can do, because at the end of the day, this is a numbers game. So if you go into the meeting thinking, oh, this person's a tire kicker, or online leads suck, or online leads are tire kickers, this is one of the things that are going to affect your ability to close them. Because when we teach people how to do sales, even our own inside sales agents, the assistants that we assign to people, one of the biggest things we do is, yes, we teach tonality, yes, we teach how to do sales, yes, we teach how to convert, but one of the biggest things we do is we actually show them results so that they have conviction. And this will in turn change their tone, change the way that they talk to people. And the reverse is true. If you go into it thinking that these are tire kickers, this is gonna affect how you treat them, how you talk to them, and the tone in which you talk to them. So get your mindset correct when you talk to people. These are just humans with problems that don't trust you yet. And if you frame it like that, then you can get better and you can work on adding value. You can work on your follow-up process. So the number one thing that you need to do is empathize with the people that you're meeting and go into it understanding that these are strangers with a problem that you can solve, but they just don't trust you with the biggest investment of their life yet. And that is a very reasonable mistrust to have, right? So here are a few things you can do if you want to actually waste your money and fail. So if you miss your meetings and no-show them, they're never gonna trust you again, right? So if you miss a meeting, there's no assistant in the world that's good enough that's gonna get them back. If you keep rescheduling with them, they're not gonna be a priority in their mind, and realistically, they're not gonna wanna book a second or third time. So if you keep rescheduling, just expect them not to come back. If you don't follow up with value, there's no point, right? Like all the data points that you have to follow up with value. And if you don't add massive value up front in that first call, then expect them to not wanna work with you. So in summary, you have to change your mindset to understand that this is a process, this is a numbers game, and that's why we do as much as we can to help you with the system and the people to make it as easy as possible for you, because it is not easy to convert a stranger. And in my other training, I'm going to give you the systems, the tips, and the tricks to actually do this. But you have to understand that these are just people, and you have to reason with them, you have to empathize with them in order to close them. I hope this helps.